Jason Rikard. I know most of you know him. He's running for Yuba City Council. And when he wins, he's going to turn it upside down.
I'll make it pretty quick tonight. What we got going on at City Council? Let's talk about this real quick. So we're starting to run, and so I've started doing my homework at the city. And with that, what I found this last week was everybody knows the Bridge Street project that they have going on down on Bridge Street, where Bridge Street's all tore up. Well, what went on with that is we have a Public Works department, and they have a Public Works director and a Public Works assistant director. So the Public Works assistant director said, we're going to do this project, so we got to put it out to bid. But before they put it out to bid, they got to go before City Council and tell them how much it's going to cost. So this guy pretty much does what I do in my regular job. He goes out and he goes before his investors and he says it's going to cost this much money. So he takes his time, figures out the amount of material that's got to go in the ground, the amount of work that's got to go into this, the people, the man hours, all the dirt that's got to be moved, all the equipment, all the fuel. He does a complete breakdown of this thing. So he goes before City Council and he says, guess what? It's going to cost $2.3 million is what it's going to cost to do this project. City Council says, great, that's a pretty good deal. We can make that work. So they give him the green light to go out and get this project rolling. So he goes out and gets the bids. Same thing I do in my life, but in the private sector. I go in before the investors. They say, what can you build this building for? I give them a breakdown of everything, tell them what I can do it for a budget. So at that point, I have about a 5% contingency that I can hit or miss. So I can be negative 5% or I can be positive 5%. So I got a total of 10% that I can play with. So all the bids come in. The City Council awards the bid. Now let's go back. $2.3 million is what he says he can do it for. That's what the bid should come in at. $3.2 million later is the low bid. So that's $900,000 that this man and woman that we have as our Public Works director and assistant director missed it by. Let me tell you right now, am I off $900,000 on a $15 million project? Monday, I'm looking for a job. Sorry, you missed your budget by that much, buddy, you're done. But instead, our City Council goes ahead and says, okay, that's great, we're going to go ahead and sign that bid for $3.2 million. But that's not it. They're now saying, well, wait, we need a 10% contingency. Contingency is that we may have misbid this and there might have been something we missed in the ground, so odds are we're going to get a change order from this company that we're hiring. So now we're up to $3.9 million. Almost double the budget. Now folks, why do they still have a job? Here's the deal. Our city administrator is at the will of the City Council. So my first move would be to tell the city administrator, you need to fire some people. I'm sorry they missed the budget. You know what, it's a bummer. It's rough to get a job right now. But if they don't care about their job enough to spend our money wisely, then they don't need to be making our money. Next, if the city administrator decides he won't do that, guess what? He's at the will of the city council. So now we go after the city administrator and we find one that will fire these guys whenever they miss their budget by this much. This is unacceptable. In my business, I would be done that Monday whenever I went to work, and you can bet there's 1,000 guys standing behind me to take my job. I believe we could find somebody to replace them out of the private sector that could darn sure meet a budget. First write one and then meet one with that 5% contingency that we have. So what I want to know is, why is this happening? And you talked about rocking the boat. We're not going to rock the boat. We're going to sink the boat. And then we're going to figure out who can sink or swim. And the ones that sink, guess what? We'll replace them. One more thing I want to talk about is the big thing that really gets me in this is we talk about all the time gun control, CARB, all these things that are going on at the state level. Ask a city councilman what he's going to do about it. They go, that's a state thing. I can't do that. Anybody ever been to a Republican convention? I know there's been a few. Okay, so not a lot. I'm going to explain a Republican convention really quick. A Republican convention, you get to go as a guest, an associate, or a delegate. If you go as a guest, you get a little green tag. You can't vote, you can't do anything, but you're there as a guest. So you go up for somebody who's running for office, and they're going to glad hand you and say, hey, how you doing? Give you a handshake, they're going to look at your tag, you're done. Have a nice day. If you go as an associate, you can take with you a proxy vote. So now you can actually vote on something they want you to vote on. You're going to get a handshake. Heck, you might even get bought a drink. Now go up to delegate. They know you can vote, and you can have up to 2 proxy votes with you. So that means you're voting for 3 people whenever you get down there. Believe me, if you go in as a delegate with 2 proxy votes, they're going to buy you a couple of free drinks. They're going to sit down and talk to you for a minute. And a week later, you may even get a letter in the mail from this guy who's running for whatever he's running for. Because now all of a sudden you have 3 votes. My plan is, whenever I become city councilman, we're going to start having bi-monthly meetings. So 6 a year. But I need everybody to show up. Because we're going to talk about what's going on in Sacramento. Whenever we decide what we want out of Sacramento and what they're voting on, I'm going to go down to Sacramento. I'm going to go actually to the Capitol, walk into Gallagher's office or whoever's office we decide we want to go into, and we're going to tell them, you know what? You go ahead and bet on that gun bill however you see fit. But just remember, I'm coming with 60,000 votes that got me into the office at Yuba City, and you're going to answer to 60,000 people next time we go and vote. So now, the next time a city councilman tells you that they can't do anything about what's going on in Sacramento, ask them why. Because they don't got the time? Or is it that they want to be a big fish in a little pond? Because that's usually it. I want to be this big fish, this big fat guy in this little town that's got all the power. You know what? I want to be a little fish in a big pond chewing on the big fish's tail. So that's kind of where we're at. We're off to a strong start this time. Last time we had, 50 of the big yellow signs. I'm sure everybody's seen them by now. A little obnoxious, but it gets the job done. So last time we had a little bit of a hard time getting 50 set out. We have 50 set out. We have another 50 waiting. We got about 70 spots. We are off and running. We got a few hundred of the little signs for the yard, so take them as you go. But we're going to put the hurt on them. And look, even if we don't win, the fact is, last time I ran, we ran on lowering some of the building permit fees. Guess what? As soon as everybody jumped on that bandwagon whenever I left, and I didn't win, I lost by 271 votes. 48,000 people voted. I lost by 271 votes, less than 0.25%. And guess what? I didn't win, but the fact is our building fees got changed, our sign ordinance got changed, and they paid attention. So I can't wait to see these candidates coming up who jumps on this bandwagon and tries to ride this thing, because you heard it here first. And every other week when we have these meetings, I'm going to come up with something new, and we're going to talk about it and see who jumps on the bandwagon, who's riding with us. And you know what? Even if I don't win, at least we can hold their feet to the fire.